Hello, let's continue our Sudoku adventure with XP by PjoeterBliep. So this begins our theme week for the month of September. We always start on the first Monday of the month, and it happens to be that September 1st is the first Monday of the month. So we will have 7 puzzles, all with the same theme. And this week's theme is X sums, which you probably guessed from this puzzle. So every puzzle this week will have the X sums constraint, and some of them will have other sums in addition, but I picked this one because it is a pure X sum puzzle. So we're going to start off with just X sums so you can get used to that. So definitely get used to it. The next 7 puzzles will all involve it in some way. Cool. Well, let's go over the rules. We have normal 6x6 Sudoku rules. So in each row, each column, and each 2x3 box, we are placing the digits 1 to 6 exactly once each. We also have digits, clues outside the grid, not digits, clues outside the grid. These clues are our X sum clues. So I don't know, let's just pick this 10 here. Whatever digit goes next to the clue. So let's say this digit ends up being a 3. Then that's telling us how many cells we're going to use to add to the clue. In this case, add to 10. So we're going to use 3 cells to add to 10. And so it includes the count. So these 3 then are used, and these would have to add to 10. We already have 3, we need to add to 7 more. We can just say 2, 5. So you'll notice we are using 3 cells, so these 3, and if we do 5 plus 2 plus 3, that is 10, and that matches our clue. So this is a valid way to fulfill this X sum. And that is it. We just have a bunch of X sums. There is a link in the description if you'd like to try the puzzle yourself, and I'm going to get started right now. All right, so competing X sums, like across from each other, are always interesting because adding them up gives you a little bit of insight. Because we know that the entire row adds to 21. But we also know that the 2 X sum clues add to 27, meaning that there's an overlap of 6, right? I can't do like a 2 here and a 3 here, right? This would use 3, this would use 2. And so these could not add to 27, right? These would have to add to at most 20 because we're missing 1 digit, which could be a 1. So they have to overlap. So how much do they have to overlap? Well, we need to have an overlap of 6 exactly in order to have this be 17 and this be 10. They have to share a sum of 6. So that could be a single cell, or it could be 2 cells or 3 cells. We could have 1, 2, 3 all overlapping. So there's a bit of optionality there. 17 is our biggest X sum, so we can just think about that and avoid. So how many cells do we need to add to 17? Well, 4 cell, let's see. So 3 cells, max at 15. We can do 4, 5, 6. And 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 15. So we need at least 4 cells. So this is a 4, 5, and it's definitely not a 6 because 6 always adds to 21. Now it could be 5. If it were 5, then our outie, that might affect the 10 here. So if it were 5, when we say the outie, like if this was a 5, these all would add to 17. But we know that the entire row adds to 21. So this cell that's left behind has to get us from exactly 17 to 21. And so that would be a 4. So if this was a 5, this would be a 4. And then these would add to 10. And our overlap would add to 6. And actually that works perfectly. If this was 5 and this was 4, then this would be a 1, 2, 3 adding to 6. And notice this does add to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 10. So if this is a 4, it must be 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise it has to be smaller. And then this would be the remaining 6. And then this would be 17. So that might be how this gets fulfilled. So 5 is definitely doable. 4 would leave our outie of 4 in these 2 cells. And I think that might not work. 3, 1, I suppose. Let's see, because I don't know where else to look, so we're just going to keep pounding on this to see if we can get anything out of it. If this was a 4, then these 4 are used for the 17, meaning these 2 need to get us from 17 to 21, which means they add to 4, so they have to be a 1, 3 pair. Definitely not putting a 1 here, so this would be 3 and 1. And so now these 3 would add to 10. This would be a 6. The overlap is a 6. That works perfectly. Okay, so 4 or 5 both work. But you'll notice that because of the 4 or 5, this ends up being 3 or 4. And then one of them is always 4. Because we either do 5, 4, or we do 4, 3. So none of these can be 4. I could do the overlap of them, but I don't know if that's necessary. Like we could pencil all of these with how they turn out in each direction, but I think that's a bit too much. There's probably somewhere else to look. Okay, so this row also has competing x sums, a 6 and a 10, but in this case, they add to 16. So that means we need to have a non-overlap. These have to be fairly short, and then the non-overlap gets us from 16 to 21. So that's going to be 5. So we could have just one cell missing, which is a 5. Or we could have 2 cells missing, that's a 1, 4, or 2, 3. Let's see. So thinking about, maybe we should think about the 15s as well, because there's 2 of them. So 15, so we said that 3 digits can, okay, so we thought 3 digits could add to 15. However, they actually can't. Because in order for 3 digits to get to 15, we have to do 4, 5, 6. But notice 4, 5, 6 doesn't involve a 3. So the best I can do here is 3, 5, 6, which actually only adds to 14. So 15 still has to be at least 4. So it's going to be 4 or 5. And then the outie is 6, which is going to be 1 or 2 cells long. Let's see. So this is also a 4 or 5. 6 maxes out at 3. We can do 2 because we can do 2, 4, or we can just do a 3. But if it's 3, actually 3 doesn't work in this case because if this was 3, we have to do 1, 2 across here. And this is a 4 or 5. So this has to be a 2, which means this has to be 4, which makes this has to be 5, which makes the outie a 6. Perfect. Now that this is 2, what was our outie? The outie was 5, so this has to be a 3. And then these are a 1, 6 pair, and this should add to 10. Yeah, it does. Perfect. 3 in the corner celebrating, by the way. This 2, 8 means this is a 6. And so this is a 1, 3 pair. And then this is going to be 2, 4, 5 in some order. Okay. Finally, some progress. I just wasn't looking in the right places. We still have these competing ones. I still think that was a really nice insight to have. 6 is in one of these 2. Wasn't there something about 6 having to go? Let's see. If this was a 3. Okay, so I don't think this can be 3 anymore. If you remember, if this was 3, we needed the overlap. This would be 5. Sorry. 3. Wait. No, I mean, I'm thinking about this wrong. If this was a... I don't remember the 2 cases. There was somewhere I needed to put a 6 in one of them, and I'm thinking it was here, but I might be wrong about that. I thought so if you remember, we're missing, let's see, 27. Yeah, we're missing a 6 overlap. So we have not missing, we have to have a 6 overlap. So let's just go over this again. If this was a 5, then the outies of 17 is 4, so this would be a 4. And so we would have these 3 overlapping. This would be 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's not that case. If this was 4, then this is 3. Yes, and that doesn't work, if you recall. Because remember, this would be 3, 1, if you remember, because our outies is 4. And so then this would have to be the 6 in order to get us to 10, and there's already a 6 in the column. So we've eliminated that case. This is 5, this is 4. And so with 4 adding to 10, this has to be 1, 2, 3. So yeah, this was never going to be a 6. That's a 6. That's not a 5. And this is our 6 here. That makes this 1 and 6. Okay, so the insights I had before on that were very helpful eventually. This is the 5 for this box. This is a 1, 2, 3. That's 1, 2, 3, so this has to be the 4 for the column. 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. I don't think I need to look at that yet. All right, so what x sums haven't I looked at? How about this 8? Or is the 15, the outies might be, yeah, the outies are interesting here. If this was a 5, the outie would be a 1. So this would have to be a 20 clue. So this is a 4. And so the outies add to 6. So this has to be a 5. This is now a 2, 3 pair. And if we look, that should add to 15. It sure does. Okay. And then the last x sum I haven't looked at, I think, is this 8 here. So definitely you can't be a 1. 1 always adds to 1. 2 would be 2, 6. That seems reasonable. We can't do a 3, and 4 is too big. 4 is minimum 10. So this has to be 2, 6. That gives us 4 and 2. That gives us 3 and 2. All right, we can clear these out. This is just a 1. That gives us 3 and 3. That's 1 and 3. That's 2 and 1. This is a 4. I think we're finishing. We need a 1, 5 here. What's this box need? It needs a 2, which should be placeable. And it needs a 3, which should be placeable. And then we get the 1 and 5 here and the 1 and 5 here. Another 3 in the corner celebrating. All right, cool. Well, thanks, PjoeterBliep. That was a neat pure X sums puzzle. I enjoyed the interactions. I liked thinking about opposing X sums, and I also liked how this 15 made the 6 have to be 2, 4, which was kind of our break-in, which then made the 8 have to be 2, 6. Very cool. All right. Well, hopefully this puzzle kind of helped you with different ways you're going to have to think about X sums, because you're going to have to think about them quite a bit this week. I'm sure we'll get better as the week goes on. Practicing every day is always good. Let me know how you did. And if you enjoyed this, why don't leave a like, subscribe, and a kind comment below.